Welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn. I'm joined with my best good buddy in real life, Nick Miller, and we are here in Fort Worth, Texas with CEO of Musicbed FM, Daniel McCarthy. What's up, Daniel? How are you?
What's up? I'm great. How are you?
Dude, such an honor to be here. You guys invited us out for the week. We've been staying at your lake house, enjoying a really great time. So thanks for having us out.
The sun just came out right now. It's been raining all morning, and now you're in here.
Now we're in here with you, but I mean, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So yes, thanks for having us here.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry, that was my like.
No,
you are so welcome.
We don't cut ever.
No, that was fun. I normally, we're on a computer together, and so
You mean to
Oh wait, y'all don't do this very much?
not in person.
not in person.
This is like maybe 10 episodes out of 300, 250 at this point. Where
Okay,
we've
actually
nice.
done in
been
person,
in the same
so.
room, so he's much.
Do
more
you live
close.
in the same location?
No,
In real life?
I live in Wichita, Kansas. He lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So
Okay.
we
But
do.
we live in each other's computers a lot.
Yeah.
So,
doing
yeah.
everything over Zoom. stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, back to you though.
Back to you.
Back to you,
So,
yes.
so Daniel, for people that might not know who you are, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and then tell us about the journey here at Musicbed, where it started, how it's going today, all that sort of stuff.
So we launched the company. So my name is Daniel, and I'm the CEO of FM. We started in 2011 with Musicbed, and then which grew like crazy. Then we launched in 2015, 16. We launched Film Supply, and then that kind of created the problem of like, what do we do with these two brands that kind of coexist and are very similar but different? We created FM. And then since then have launched a record label, as well as another company called Trust that funds and develops films. And then we're launching this summer a photo licensing company called Stills, which will be stills.com.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, so
So-
it's been a crazy 11 years.
Yeah.
So 11 years ago, you decide, like, why do we decide, hey, I want to do this? Like, how'd you get into this? Like, what made you say this is a need? Because we all now see Musicbed today or FM, and it's like, yeah, of course. But how'd you take that journey into?
Yeah, the original, so originally Musicbed was really primarily for wedding filmmakers and nonprofits. I was running an advertising agency at the time, and we were doing a lot of nonprofit work. And then I had transitioned out of another, I was the creative director of an advertising agency, and I had transitioned out. And so kind of in the middle, as I was launching an agency, I was also a photographer. And to make extra money, I was shooting weddings. And so we were trying to launch the ad agency, and I was shooting weddings. And then we were getting, and this was kind of like, this was like 11 years ago, so a lot has changed, right? So this was a couple years after the 5D Mark II, which kind of changed the game for everybody. And then, I don't know, were y'all shooting on like Red Rock Micros by any chance? Y'all weren't doing that, like mirrorless? Okay.
No.
So you started like, what camera did you start shooting on?
A JVC Averio mini DV tape.
Okay.
In 2007.
Okay, you were mini DV.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So we're in the same old person camp.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Very much so.
Yeah.
So the 5D Mark II hits. It's making it easier for everybody.
Yeah.
We were shooting weddings. We had launched this like creative agency, but and really it was for branding and interactive work. Interactive is what we used to call the internet 11 years ago, 14 years ago. So it was like for interactive work and branding, and every meeting that we would go to, they would be like, well, we need a rebrand. We need a new website. But we also need can you make us any video content? And so it's like, well, that's not really what okay, yeah, sure. So we just, ended up, we launched the creative agency, had no intention of doing video work. We were shooting weddings on the side to make money while we were getting clients. And as we transitioned over to the agency, it was like more than 50% of our revenue was video. And the common theme was that we didn't have great music to use. We were using different production music libraries like Killer Tracks, and there was a bunch out there, Premium Beat or whatever. There was a lot of decent resources. We didn't feel like there was anything that captured the emotion that we were trying to capture from a film perspective. We didn't feel like there was anything that matched that on the music side. Like, we're trying to create all this emotion with these stories and films. What music do we use that doesn't actually detract from the story that we're trying to tell? And so, yeah, that's really where the idea started. Nick and I went to school for music business, didn't really know what I was doing. We had some friends in Nashville that were band managers, and we really just kind of started reaching out to artists individually and saying, can we use your music in our films? And then it just kind of happened organically. Like, one day we were like, this is what we should do. We should stop running an advertising agency. We should start signing bands, and we should make these bands available to everybody to use. And so we launched Musicbed in 2011 with about 35 bands, one record label, and the rest is kind of history. Like, it started blowing up, and we were adding 3 or 4 bands every single week. 6 months after we launched the company, a really prominent wedding filmmaker got sued for using copyrighted music in a celebrity's wedding video. And it was just kind of crazy timing. Like, we were just there when it happened, and a lot of the wedding filmmakers were like, what do we do? And we let them use any music from Musicbed for free to keep their portfolios alive. And we basically doubled revenue that month, and then just kind of grew like crazy from there. But I mean, our original love, like, now obviously we do commercials and Super Bowl ads and TVs and all the fun stuff, but our original real love was the wedding filmmaker. I would say we built the whole FM empire with and alongside wedding filmmakers.
Yeah. And I remember, I started filming weddings in 2007-ish, something like that. And I remember Gavin DeGraw. I used a lot of him, a lot of Coldplay, a lot of, illegally, of course. And it was like, there was no real viable option with music that was like helpful. I remember it coming out and being just like, oh, this Musicbed is awesome. Like, this is so helpful. And watching it transform. You said you had 35 bands, adding 2 or 3, a week, whatever. What does it look like today? Like, what is the overall, when it comes to a number of artists, that sort of, but like, what has it really turned into? Because I think a lot of people in the wedding industry think, oh, Musicbed, it's like music licensing for just wedding films or anything like that. But what all has it really turned into?
So we rep probably 15-ish hundred bands, wow. A bunch of labels, publishers. I think what continues to make us different, and we represent it like full service for all licensing. So again, like, that's anywhere from like YouTube creator and wedding filmmaker, nonprofit, all the way up to commercial advertising, TV, film, video games, and anything that you can think of that would need to sync a song to. I would say what really was core to us then, which still is very core for us, is the curated aspect of it, because I think that there was even kind of competitors at the time when we launched that really went the direction of like mainstream music, like wedding filmmakers in general just want access to everything. And we always felt like, no, like, because we were filmmakers, and so for us it was like, no, there's certain songs and artists that actually help you tell a story and create emotion, and there's certain songs that are like just good bands to listen to. So I would even say today, there's even artists, songs, label partnerships that we haven't done or released because we feel like it's not the right tone, feeling, emotion, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would definitely say we have a team that deeply understands film and the filmmaker, and we're always trying to sign new bands and artists that help filmmakers tell a story, not just a good artist to stream or listen to, which you could do on Spotify. So we really, even though it's growing 1,500 bands, it really, like, I feel like we still have the same DNA that we had originally. Like, we were doing wedding films as well. The original like 30 artists that we went after was Nick and I. So Nick is my co-founder, is now the chief content officer for all the brands. I would Like I would be in the editing bay editing a wedding video. He would make me a playlist of 30 songs. Like, hey, here's, I'm like, could you just go find me a bunch of music that would work, right? The original 30 bands that we went after were all of the bands he had curated specifically for film. You know what I'm saying? So like, and at that time it was really specifically for wedding films. And so we weren't just going after like anything. It was like we weren't trying to just sign Colby Calais because we could sign Colby Calais, right? That was like 2011, and there was a lot of like, or whoever it was. It was like, yeah, but who wants to use that? So we really were trying to curate from day one, and I think that core DNA continues.
Yeah. I was going to say, you made the comment of, we're not just signing everybody, and we're not putting popular mainstream music on it. And I think that I have only found one band. Of course, I'm not like a big like music person, I mean, I like music, but I'm not like going and looking and trying to find new music and that stuff all the time. But I think I've only found one band on your platform that I had heard of before, like with Musicbed, And so you have a very curated, and it's not, and I like that it's people, that we're creating films for, they don't have this connection to this song in the outside world, and then they get their wedding film, and then now maybe their wedding film's ruined because they had some bad emotional connection with some song that they heard on the radio 5 years ago, whatever, that kind of stuff. And so, but that just kind of made me think a little bit of some of the challenges, because when I talk to people, this doesn't happen to us where I'm in my business now, but, people really want a say in the music that they're getting for their films.
Yeah, does that happen all the time? Every client is like, will you use this song?
Yeah, not as much so much for where I am now, but there are lots of people where they're like, here, I want and it's all, popular lovey-dovey, songs that people I think would for a video, for a wedding video. And so I know that there's some challenges, that's where I'm kind of going with this. We have some challenges of us as the filmmakers, finding these songs and thinking, okay, how can I use this for a wedding video? I like that you've kind of curated your artists for more of that story idea, that story stuff. So what are on your side, some of the challenges that you guys face, whenever it comes to, working with filmmakers, like our side of things, but also working with artists, and how you like merge that stuff together? And I know you just a subscription service now. So was that a helpful thing, or what are some of those challenges?
The biggest challenge for us on a regular basis is content ID. Honestly, on YouTube, it's probably the biggest kind of thorn in our side at all times. The biggest problem in general is that we're not a royalty-free catalog, and we don't own 100% of the music. So we made the decision day one, we want to represent real artists. We want to represent real, emerging, talented, touring artists, which comes with a set of challenges. And so because we don't own the content, there's always a tug and pull between us and the label, us and the publisher. Because at the end of the day, if a filmmaker licenses something from us and it gets flagged on YouTube, it's like, oh my God, like why? I thought I licensed it, right? So you did, but it's complicated, right? So it's like a very complicated web of educating the customer, making sure that we have the technology to solve those problems, working with the record labels to understand the filmmaker's perspective. Because for most record labels, they're like, why do they even care? It's like, well, they licensed the song and paid you for the song, so they don't want a copyright claim, right? So a lot of it, that's probably the biggest hurdle. But I would say, like, we chose this fight, like we chose it day one because we wanted to represent the best. And when you represent the best, it's complicated. And so, we created Sync ID to solve that problem. It solves 90+% of them. We are constantly manually clearing things for our clients when we have to. But it's one of those deals where it's like, could we eliminate that altogether? Yes. The way to do that is we go to our artists, we buy out their roster, they never make any more money again, we 100% own it, and that's not the path we chose, because we chose the path of continuing to pay the artists so that they could continue to do what they love, Yeah. So it's kind of like, That's the thing that we hit all the time, but it's also the path we picked. And so, we're on a daily basis creating technologies to try and solve it.
Yeah, like the digital side of things, like the streaming services, everything that you think about what's changed since you've started the brand, like on the internet, with Apple Music, with Spotify, with all these digital streaming services, all these different platforms. How are you navigating those kinds of changes, and how do you stay, because it seems as though you say you picked this battle and everything, which is great, but that seems, I don't think a lot of people out there, especially our audience, really realizes what goes on the backside of things to make it easy for us. We always say making something easy isn't easy. So what challenges do you face with the rise of digital, the streaming services, those these streaming music platforms, things like that? What challenges do you see, and how are you changing and evolving alongside everything on that side?
Yeah, I think maybe same thing I said, but I think that there's an emerging group of creatives that grew up with TikTok. Mm-hmm. That's just the way they grew up. They just grew up making videos and using whatever song they wanted to make. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So there is a 30-year-old and older class of people that has a bit of an understanding of you can't just use that song. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, people got sued for that. You know what I'm saying? There's an understanding of I would say the older generation, put whatever date and age you want to put on it, of yeah, but good music is hard to get a hold of and hard to use. Mm-hmm. I think that what Instagram, and you were asking about streaming platforms, maybe more Spotify, but I think what really impacts us the most is with social media where it is now, which is as a user, as a person, as a 14-year-old kid, you can kind of use whatever you want. So as those 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 18-year-olds pick up a camera and begin to do this commercially, they will have a stronger conviction and question for themselves of why can't I just use, I've been using songs for 10 years. Why can't I just use a song, right? So I think for us, we're looking at it and saying we have to fight more than ever to continue to add more and more relevant artists, continue to, you know what I'm saying? We have to continue to fight this fight, because I think the emerging creative is going to be I don't really understand. Doesn't change the fact that they're going to get copyright claims and whatever, and they're going to there's a little bit of a rude awakening once you start making work commercially. Mm-hmm. But our position from a Musicbed perspective doesn't change, which is that we're trying to empower these creatives to tell better stories. And I think that now more than ever, we have to continue to get better and better and better and better at signing better record labels, better artists at a faster pace. There's more artists going viral daily than there ever has been in the history of the world. Mm-hmm. So, our A&R team has increased in size and increased in goals as far as who they're signing, how they're signing it, where they're finding the artists, and making sure that we're staying ahead of the curve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just that the accessibility to music personally is going to push and create friction commercially.
Yeah. So, it kind of leads into this next thought about, the future of FM and this new, generation that's coming up where, like you're saying, they just get whatever they want and stuff. So how do you guys see yourselves at this company, evolving, and thinking of those challenges and that stuff? I mean, is it just for now, like you're saying, continue with just finding the best that we can find, or do you have other thoughts about, what you want to do with that stuff?
We're talking just Musicbed?
Sure.
Everything?
Kind of whatever you want to, where you want to take that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of fun things we're working on, from AI search tools. I think.
Yes.
What?
I love AI. I mean,
do you want to do a deep dark dive on AI?
I mean, if Mia, it just depends. Mia said to be careful about AI, but yes.
Why? Because you were it's going to just become an AI podcast?
Here's the thing. AI is so intriguing, and I can only imagine with what you have in your team now and everything. So Sure. Like, I would like to open the can a little bit of like, what are you seeing from your side of things? How is that? I mean, in the last week or two, it's like so many deep fakes of artists have been happening, or tools where it's like, hey, this is Kanye's voice on a Michael Jackson song and that's going viral, or whatever that thing is. But anyway, with what you're doing with FM, with all the tools, are you using any of those tools to help you, or what are you seeing just in that world? Can opened.
We're ready.
I got to be careful what I say. I got PR sitting over there being like, be careful. It's all on the record. We are using AI tools. I believe in the future of AI. I believe that the current state of AI is basically all theft, creative theft. I don't think that that's a misunderstanding of what the machine is capable of, right? Like, I think that what AI engineers would like you to believe is you just don't understand. Like, you just don't understand. Mm-hmm. My point is, if you learn from 1, if you learn from 10, if you took from 1,000, like if I put together 2 pieces of content that you guys own and made it my own and didn't ask for your permission, you'd be like, you need to ask for permission for that. Mm-hmm. At some point, they're like, but it's 1 billion. Mm-hmm. And we're not, and it's not copy and paste anymore, it's learning. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm like, okay. That's another conversation for a different day, and I'm not the one making the rules for that. Yeah. As far as where we are today, there's going to be real copyright infringement, real problems, right? Like, you can't just make something in Drake's voice and not have a problem, Then it's like, even if you can make it, it's kind of fun. It's a magic trick, right? That's my whole thing right now is it's a magic trick. I don't think any technology ever delivers on 100% of the fear it creates, right? So I think there's a lot of fear surrounding AI. I actually think that it's going to be more exciting than it is fearful.
Agreed.
Once we get into it. We're in the model phase, okay? So, and what I mean by that is everybody is creating models. They're training brains how to function. We're not in the monetization phase. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that it really matters, the argument of like, is there training illegal or not? It's like that ship, that train has left the station. So I don't really even know if it matters at this point. Mm-hmm. What's going to matter is how do we use it? How do we monetize it? And we're excited about that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what I'm excited about is how do we use it and get humans paid, because that's what we've done for 11 years, is not how do we use it to cut out the human creative and put them out of business, but how do we use it how do we use it alongside of the best creative minds on the planet to continue to create revenue for them, so they can continue to produce at a high level. So, we have a bunch of ideas. We will start on, AI is going to start, we're going to monetize tools first. So before AI ever replaces anybody as a creator, we're going to monetize tools, right? So we're talking search tools and a bunch of other ways that we're going to use it on our platforms, that are going to be really fun and exciting, and I think actually change the game in a lot. Like, I actually would argue, there's like, for instance, there's a bunch of AI music tools. They're all trash right now, right? Here's what we don't know. Like, as a creative, I think you understand this. The difference between great and magical is 1%. Do you agree or disagree?
I'll take that to the bank. Yeah, I'll take that to the bank.
Okay. Yeah. Can AI get to 100, or will it be left for centuries at 99? That's what we don't know. It's good. It could even get really good. It might even get great. Can it create goosebumps? We don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that the distance between great and magically authentic is further than we think it is. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going to find for longer than we think, right? I think we're going to progress really fast, like 2 or 3 years, like super, super, super fast. And then there's going to be like a pause, which is like, but there's still something missing. And, you know, that's where I think we're going to get even better at signing great artists, delivering great content, using the tools, like helping you find the song you're looking for that you couldn't have found on your own without the AI tools.
Yeah, that's dope.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be some really, really exciting stuff that we roll out over the next 2 years utilizing AI technology, but creating revenue for the human artist. Mm-hmm. So I'm not super freaked out by it. I mean, we're about to launch a photo brand though, let me be honest.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the first one being attacked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And what happens with like copyright laws? Can you use it personally? Can you use it commercially? Do you have to cite your sources? You know,
yeah.
What is your take?
It's very interesting. Like, I mean, I use ChatGPT we use it for lots of our business already. It's kind of, I was talking last night at the lake house, it's just like, kind of is an extension of me at this point. Like I know how to get.
You know how to prompt it.
Yeah, like yeah. I mean, it just become like I will spend 5 or 10 minutes doing something with it, and it was like, did I think of that or did that think of it? Like is it part of me? I don't know. So I'm all for new and
yeah. I've used it. I mean, yeah. I think I use it quite a bit. I think though. Right, it can only reproduce. It can't it's not creating. Right, it's reproducing. I think as creatives, it's a dangerous cycle of kind of creating homogenous content and not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think every creative is going to have to kind of find their line of how I use it as a tool, but keep my own voice. Use it kind of as a knowledge worker. Mm-hmm. Like help me go. I mean, I used it the other morning. I was telling our team, there's certain things you've already learned like when to go to Google and when to go to ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. You've already kind of learned in your mind, like that's a Google search. But then there was a particular thing I was looking for, and I didn't know how I would type it into Google. But I had like the human question I would ask ChatGPT to get the answer, and I got it like on the, you know what I'm saying? So you're like, that's great. That was awesome. So I think we'll learn how to use it. Mm-hmm. But I still think that creatives, I think I still have gone to the ChatGPT well and come up dry more often than I came up with the resource I was looking for. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I still go kind of hoping it will solve my problem or write my thing or like be innovative. And it's like, dude, all I can do is spit out dry junk to you. You're going to have to put a spirit on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have to give this thing a soul. Yeah. And so I think that's where creatives are going to have to learn how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And for Mia's sake, I will move on from the AI chat. But I think it does steer back into kind of where I was wanting to maybe go next when talking about like making sure that there's like the balance between artists and the filmmakers and the businesses and like all this stuff when licensing content, right? And so it's like, how do you go about like handling conflicts between the two parties? You're kind of like, you're working for us, you're also working for the artist and
right.
and everything. And so it's like when it comes down to it, you're kind of working both sides of the things. And so how are you working with both sides as things are consistently changing? It's like you put all this effort into sync ID, and then it's like, okay, now we're manually clearing all these different things. We're doing that. Like, you have kept it. You could own the libraries, you could purchase, the rosters, but you want the artists to be paid. You want us to have curated music that's not just hours and hours of searching through garbage to find the good stuff. So when there are the conflicts, when there are these things changing, what is your role? How does FM or Musicbed spend their time taking care of both sides?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can only have one master. You can only have one client. So we've always, to be clear, our client is the creative. Our client is the filmmaker. Without the filmmaker spending their hard-earned money and swiping their credit card, the artist doesn't get paid. Mm-hmm. And so my job as the leader is to always keep our customer in mind and try to be as as unbiased as I possibly, like, just try to put myself in our client's shoes at all times. What would they want? What do they expect? Where do they want us to go? What is the technology that they want us to release? What would make their lives better? And then simultaneously, it's communicating the perspective of the client to the artist. That's really what I believe our job is. The byproduct of us doing our job well is that artists get taken care of. Musicians get to continue to make money. But it's because we're doing our job well for our clients that is possible. So we spend a lot of time communicating the perspective and position of the creative and the filmmaker to our artists, just so they understand. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, it's not necessarily, well, the YouTuber wants the content ID claim released and the artist is pissed that they're not monetizing the video, and we're speaking two different things to two different parties. It really is more of, let me help you understand why we need to clear the claim for the filmmaker. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, let me make sure you understand their position, what their role is, what their job is, how they make a living. So I think we definitely have people in the building whose primary role is signing artists and communicating to artists. I view my primary role as really putting myself in the position of the customer all the time, if that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's good because, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that get frustrated out there that they don't understand the system, right? Because it's not just, there's us, the filmmaker, and then you, Musicbed, in the middle, FM in the middle, and then the artist over here that you're like, but they have a label and they have, there's so many different people that they're working with on that side. And I could reach out to an artist and be like, can I use this song? And they're like, yeah, sure. But the artist doesn't actually own that song or whatever,
I mean, here's totally rabbit trail, but I'm invested in a company in Nashville that works with really large artists. They're working with probably one of the biggest country artists on the planet right now. And they're about to release a promo for him that the record label has signed off on with a song to it. And they don't have the permission to use the song of the artist who they're promoting because the publisher hasn't signed off. So it's the music industry is a cluster, right? Yeah. Of writers, publishers, master owners, record labels, and that's the deal with the sync license is everybody that owns a piece of the pie has to say yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that really is the work that we've done. But there's crazy, and then there's always random, the systems and technology isn't as sophisticated as maybe people would like to believe. We've had situations where people have just stolen music, said they own it, put it in content ID, and just flag it. And you're like, well, who did what? Mm-hmm. You didn't even check their ID, And then you had, so there's always random situations, but we usually get it resolved quickly. I still think as a filmmaker, again, we may not be for everybody, because if you're I don't ever want a problem or a copyright claim or have to deal with any of this. If you never want that, then you just need to use cheaper music. You just need to, there's options for that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For me, if I was a filmmaker, I'm I need my work to stand out. Mm-hmm. So I have to use the best, and I guess you got to find the partner that is on the up and up, doing it right, and has my back if anything goes south, right? And so that for me is really, we had this conversation as Musicbed before we launched subscription. We all sat around a table and we're like, is this the path forward? Mm-hmm. Should we just
Thanks for making that the path forward.
Well, for me, it was should we just start buying, just find the artists we can find that are willing to sell their soul and just buy tracks, own them outright, and not have to deal with this, And it was dude, I don't want to run that company. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt. I want to go to bed at night knowing we are continuing to try and rep the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And so that's just, it's part of it.
Yeah. And I'm saying this not as just because you guys sponsor our podcast or anything like that.
Yeah, you are.
Blow the smoke, man. Blow it. He's right there.
Yeah. But people we see in our Facebook group all the time, okay, like what's the best music licensing website? And we're all like Musicbed. Like, well, is there anything cheaper? And I always come back.
of course.
I said, yes, there is, but the issue with that is like you want the best, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more. And now hearing especially all of the behind the scenes stuff that you're doing, and to me, it's like it's 100% worth it because it's a curated list. It's so much better. You can go to other sites and you can find sort of decent songs, but it takes you a long time to do it. And you guys have done the hard work for us. I love how, I've gotten in times where I'm like, hey, I need a song. And I just chat you guys. You're like, oh, here's a list of 10, 15 songs, whatever, that are kind of in what I'm looking for. Anyway, I love what you guys do, and it is the best. And I adamantly believe that. And just hearing you talk about, like you're passionate about it, about, wanting to help the creative and the filmmaker, but also pay people, for the work that they've done.
Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time. It's like, we're preaching, you got to raise your prices as a wedding filmmaker. Do you want to stand out? Do you want to be the cheap guy in town? Do you want to be the vanilla, no. Do you want your music to stand out? Do you want to have something that's going to end up on a Viagra commercial in 3 years that you didn't know about? Or you just don't know. And it's like, you don't want, these.
Why did you go to Viagra?
I don't know.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. I don't know why I went there, but it's just the first thing that popped up. Okay. Anyway, but you sit here and you think okay, cool. You can spend a really cheap amount and get a cheap product. And it's we preach that all the time to people, or it's they're I built my own website. And it's why did you do that? Why did you? And so I love, and whenever you say it's more a premium price, it's the price for what it is, what you can get. I remember licensing song one at a time, and you'd license the song, you'd edit the film, something doesn't feel right, let me license 2 more songs or 3 more songs. And now with the subscription and being able to use that, it's changed the game for it really has opened up so many different things. And with the app and with everything that you guys do, from the filmmaker community, it's just seriously, thanks. We really appreciate it.
What can we do better?
Oh man, Nick, that's you. You don't have anything.
Answer all of the questions. You personally get in our Facebook group and answer all of the questions whenever people I downloaded this from Musicbed and I'm still getting content strike from YouTube. I thought Musicbed solved it. So if you could answer all of those questions.
What are you doing Monday through Friday?
All the time?
I think that's the biggest misconception is Sync ID doesn't prevent you from getting a claim. It clears it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's my whole thing is take your content ID claim as a trophy. That means you're using good music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you get a claim on YouTube, it means you're using real music. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. You got your first claim, Now use your Sync ID to clear it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big misconception for people is oh my God, I got claimed. I thought I wasn't going to get claimed. It's no, you're going to get claimed every time. Mm-hmm. That's the point.
Yeah. I think that your question, what can you do better? It's literally just continue to push what you're doing forward. It's cool to watch. I've been a subscription since day one that it was available. Literally. Used only Musicbed for 15, however many years since you guys started. And so I love the what's new, the apps or the playlist. I'm always listening. We're always pushing into, but there's rarely a song that I'm ever on there and I'm just I don't know why this is on there, or I don't know why. I can see it working for somebody's film. It's not this sounds like hot garbage. Why is this on there? It's I literally can just push play and turn it on instead of Spotify and listen through things and favorite things. And so yeah, continuing to do what you do. And then you came from the wedding filmmaking world, and it's obvious that you guys care a ton about wedding filmmakers when you could be hey, this is a small subset of the commercial world. We don't need to really focus on that. And it's obvious that you do care deeply about the wedding film industry. So just don't forget that we exist, I think is the
You got it.
You got it. He's in. That's awesome. So, you kind of segue this in about things that you can do differently. I know you mentioned it earlier, but we wanted to touch on it about your new thing you're launching, Stills. Can you just touch on that, what that is, and is that it's going to be, who's that for, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, the primary client is designers, graphic designers, art directors, art buyers. It's really, I would say, like maybe the way you guys felt about Musicbed the first time you found it. I believe that that's the way graphic designers are going to feel when they find stills. So we are not the first to market licensing photos. As a matter of fact, we're last. Unsplash exists, Getty exists, Shutterstock exists, Pond5 exists. Like there's lots of options out there when it comes to photo licensing. What we found though is the same thing kind of existed in the photography world that also existed in music, and then really existed in footage when we launched Film Supply, which is there is this massive group of in-demand photographers that were not represented by anybody for licensing because selling stock photos felt like selling out. Mm-hmm. And so there's just kind of, literally thousands of photographers that, you would be very surprised to know that they have no licensing representation. Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Do you mean it?
He gets choked up when you start talking about
emotional.
photos.
Talk about photos, yeah.
It's an emotional
It's okay,
thing.
buddy. Blake, cut that out.
Yeah.
Don't edit that out.
No, I think we leave it, just the
That was an
struggle.
emotional moment. It got me. And
Yeah, so
I think I'm good.
So I think you would be like when we launch, I think it's going to be really surprising to a lot of people that how in the world did you find thousands of these photographers that are this caliber that had no representation that you now represent exclusively? Like it's wild. Like the amount of photographers that are going to be on the platform. So it really is it'll be exclusive. We're rolling kind of a program. It's members only essentially, and it's going to be invite only when we launch it. And then there's going to be a certain subset of the photos that we're putting in what we're calling the vault. And the vault is basically you only get access to it if you're a member, and it's where all photos go for a certain period of time. And the reason is that as a designer, you're constantly using photos that you're seeing everywhere. Like the best photos in Unsplash have been used 1 billion times. And it's like, how do I make my work stand out? How do I use stuff that's not being used by other people? And so we're really trying to create a platform that's like for the most exceptional designers in the world to find really phenomenal photos that they can't get anywhere else and that they have to be a member to get access to. Really kind of keeping usage at a low. So we're pretty pumped about it.
No, that's really great. Yeah.
So what I need from you guys is tell your designer friends.
Okay.
So everybody listening,
yes.
If you have a graphic designer friend, I'll give you a few seconds. Like we'll have a moment of silence for you to think about it.
You're gonna get choked.
Text them stills.com. Go get you because we're gonna be invite only. So if they don't sign up, they won't get an invite, and then they won't get in when we launch.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I know with like the vibe, just even walking around HQ here today, the vibe is real. You guys are the real deal. It's a very cool, like it's not your, like that, the splash images, the Getty images. I know that it's going to be like, okay, well this is cool. This is next level. This is not just, not just those click tracks that you're going to hear. This is like the indie music, the good stuff, whatever it is. And it's really cool. And I know that you could have made the choice to like kind of, quote unquote, like sell out, or it's like, this would be much easier just to like buy this music, buy these images, do this stuff. But like you're fighting the fight to like get artists paid, and that's pretty awesome that you took that route.
Yeah, we're gonna do it until the robots take over. That's probably how
part two of this. Part 2 of this episode. No, but seriously, thank you so much for taking the time. We know you're a busy person. Is there anything as we're wrapping things up that you would want the wedding film community to say to them as we wrap up today?
Just thank you. Really, I said it earlier and I really mean it. I think so much of where we are today, we built on the backs of the wedding community, of them using our music in their films, going on, some of them to do commercial work, bringing us with them. That's probably the biggest compliment that we can receive is when a wedding filmmaker gets in and does their first 3 or 4 or 5 wedding films, and then 2 or 3 years later picks up a commercial project and brings us with them and then maybe 5-10 years from that is doing big productions and is still using us, like that probably is the most impactful thing to us, is being able to grow with filmmakers, whether they decide to make a full-on career out of wedding filmmaking or whether they continue on to other commercial work. I really believe so much of who we are today came from kind of that 2011, 2012, 2013, those early on filmmakers being like, we're here, we're thankful for you guys, and we're going to carry you through all of our projects. And so we're just very thankful for that entire industry.
You can land the plane. Makes the plane lander.
I'm going to let you do it. I'm still a little...
No, I'm going to make you do it.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for... I'm going to start coughing again.
It's getting choked up.
Oh, yeah. Daniel, thank you so much for inviting us here and letting us hang out with you and recording this podcast. And just thank you so much for everything that Musicbed does for us. We appreciate you guys so much. So thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You know what can be the worst? Needing to find a lead or a second shooter for your weddings. Have you ever asked for a second in our Facebook group only to find that person isn't available or they're unqualified? If you've ever run into this problem, we've got the solution for you. Second Society. Second Society is an online platform where you can find lead and second videographers and photographers all over the world. List yourself as a shooter or search the database and find the perfect fit for your brand. Let Second Society remove the stress of finding additional videographers and photographers. You can learn more over at howtofilmweddings.com/Second Society. Create your account and use promo code HTFW20 at checkout to save 20% off your annual subscription.